Dae-Jung Hwang could end a man's life with a phone call. He controlled half of Seoul's underworld, owned politicians, commanded armies of silent, loyal men who would die at his word. But on a cold November evening, sitting across from his fiancée in Seoul's most exclusive restaurant, he saw three little girls walk through the door. And his empire became worthless. Because those girls had his eyes, his face, his blood, and the woman holding their hands? She was the only person who'd ever made him feel human. 6 years ago, she vanished without a word. Now she was back, and everything he'd built was about to burn. If you love stories about impossible choices and dangerous love, hit subscribe now. You'll want to see how this ends. Dae-Jung learned 3 things before he turned 15. 1. Silence is more dangerous than threats. 2. Loyalty bought with fear lasts longer than loyalty earned with love. 3. The moment you care about something, you've already lost. His father taught him that. Right before a rival put 2 bullets in his father's chest outside a Busan nightclub. When Dae-Jung was 14, he watched his father bleed out on wet pavement, rain washing the blood toward the gutter. His father's last words weren't, "I love you," or "run." They were, "Never let them see what matters." 21 years later, Dae-Jung sat in Aria. The kind of restaurant where reservations required 6 months and a political connection. Where even the water cost more than most people's rent. Black suit, Italian leather, hair swept back, face carved from stone. Across from him, Lina Chun. She was beautiful in the way expensive things are beautiful. Flawless skin, designer dress, 3-carat diamond on her finger that caught the light like a tiny star. She cut her steak with surgical precision, each movement calculated. "My father wants the wedding in March," she said without looking up. Her Korean was perfect, though Mandarin was her first language. The venue in Gangnam, 500 guests minimum. Dae-Jung sipped his whiskey. Macallan, 30 years old. It tasted like smoke and memories he'd rather forget. "March is fine." Lina looked at him. Her eyes were intelligent. Cold. She knew exactly what this was. A business arrangement. Her father, Richard Chun, controlled port operations between Seoul and Shanghai. Dae-Jung controlled the rest. Real estate, underground gambling, enough politicians to rewrite laws when convenient. "You don't love me," Lina said. Not a question. A statement of fact. "No," he replied. "Good." She returned to her steak. "I don't love you either. Love is a liability in our world. Affection makes you weak. Makes you hesitate. And hesitation gets you killed," Dae-Jung finished. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. The restaurant hummed with quiet wealth. Low conversations, classical music hidden in walls, the soft clink of silver on porcelain. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Seoul glittered like a kingdom made of light and lies. Dae-Jung had built his empire in the shadows of those lights. Blood, silence, calculated violence. He was good at it. Maybe too good. His phone buzzed. Min-jun, his second in command since they were kids in Busan, stealing food from street vendors and learning which adults could be bribed. The text was simple. All clear. Chen's men left the dock. Dae-Jung typed back. Good. Lina was talking about honeymoon destinations, Paris, the Maldives, maybe Switzerland, but Dae-Jung wasn't listening. He was thinking about his father's advice. The man who has nothing to lose is the most dangerous man alive. So make sure you always have something. But never let anyone know what it is. Dae-Jung had followed that for 20 years. He had money, power, fear-based respect, but nothing he couldn't walk away from. Nothing that could be used against him. Until 6 years ago. Her name was Sage Adeyemi. Half Nigerian, half Korean. Art curator. Eyes that saw through the walls he'd spent decades building. She'd approached him at a gallery opening in Itaewon, standing in front of a painting of a burning city. "Do you think it's beautiful or tragic?" she'd asked. "Both," he'd answered. She'd smiled. Good. Most people only see one or the other. 3 months later, he loved her. 6 months later, she was gone. No warning. No explanation. Just an empty apartment and a disconnected number. He'd searched. Used every resource, every contact, every favor owed. Nothing. She'd vanished like smoke. For 2 years, he looked. Then he forced himself to stop. Because looking meant admitting she mattered. And if she mattered, she was a weakness. And weaknesses got you killed. So he buried it. Buried her. Focused on expansion. On power. On becoming the kind of man even Richard Chun had to respect. Dae-Jung. He blinked. Lina was staring at him. "Sorry." "What?" "I asked if you wanted dessert." "No. Then he saw her. Time didn't stop. That's a lie people tell in movies. Time kept moving, but Dae-young's body forgot how to breathe. Because there across the restaurant, near the entrance, stood Sage. Same braids pulled back. Same bronze skin. Simple green dress. Still beautiful. Still the only person who'd ever made him feel like something other than a weapon. But that wasn't what made his chest collapse. It was the three little girls standing beside her. Identical. Maybe 5 years old. Brown skin, thick black hair in puffs and twists. Delicate features that were somehow both African and Korean. And they had his eyes. Not similar. Not kind of. His exact eyes. Deep brown, intense, with that same unnerving focus that made people look away. One of them, the tallest, was holding Sage's hand protectively. Another clutched a stuffed animal, looking around nervously. The third was pointing at the chandelier, chattering excitedly in Korean. Dae-young's hand tightened around his glass, so hard he thought it might shatter. "What's wrong?" Lina asked, following his gaze. He didn't answer. Couldn't. Because Sage had seen him. The color drained from her face. Her entire body went rigid. She bent down quickly, whispering something urgent to the girls, then started steering them back toward the exit. "Excuse me," Dae-young said, standing. "Where are you?" But he was already moving. He crossed the restaurant in seconds, his body on autopilot. The host tried to intercept him, but one look made her step back. "Sage." She froze at the door. Her shoulders tensed. Slowly, painfully, she turned. Dae-young. Her voice was exactly as he remembered. Soft. Strong. Tired. The three girls looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. "Mama, who is that Ajiasi?" The tallest one asked in perfect Korean. "Mother." The words felt like bullets. "Go outside," Sage told them gently. "Wait by the fountain. I'll be right there." "But Mama." "Now Zuri. Take your sisters." Zuri hesitated. Then she nodded, taking her sister's hands and leading them through the glass doors. She kept looking back, protective, suspicious. Sage waited until they were outside before turning back to Dae-young. "Don't," she whispered. "Are they mine?" Silence. Her eyes were wet, but no tears fell. "Are they mine?" "Yes." The single word detonated something in his chest. How old? 5.5. He did the math instantly. 6 years since she left. 9 months of pregnancy. "You were. When you disappeared, you were." 1 month pregnant. "Yes." The restaurant noise faded. The world narrowed to just her face. "Why?" His voice cracked despite 20 years of control. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I couldn't raise them in your world, Dae-young." Her whisper was sharp. Broken. "I couldn't let them grow up with targets on their backs. I couldn't watch them learn that their father kills people for a living. I couldn't," her voice fractured. "I loved you. God, I loved you so much it hurt. But I loved them more. And keeping them safe meant keeping them away from you. You had no right. I had every right." The words came out fierce. "You're a criminal, Dae-young. A gangster. People die around you. I wasn't going to let my daughters. Our daughters." She flinched like he'd slapped her. Behind him, he heard Lina's heels clicking across marble. "Dae-young, what's going on?" He didn't turn around. Sage's eyes flicked to Lina, then to the massive diamond on her finger, then back to Dae-young. Understanding and something like bitter relief crossed her face. "You're engaged," she said softly. "Good. That's good. You should go back to your fiancé. Forget you saw us." "Forget." "Yes. Forget. We're leaving Seoul next week anyway. My mother," her voice caught. "My mother's treatment is finished. We'll go back to Jeju. You'll never see us again." "The hell I will." "Dae-young. Those are my children." "No." Her eyes were fierce now. Burning. "They're my children. You're just the man whose DNA they share. That's all. Biology. You don't get to claim them because you saw them once in a restaurant. You don't get to. I want to know them. You can't. I want to be their father. You can't be." Her voice broke. "You can't be their father because fathers show up to school plays and teach them to ride bikes and tuck them in at night. You run an empire built on violence. You have enemies who would kill them just to hurt you. You're engaged to a woman whose father would probably murder them in their sleep if he knew they existed. So no, Dae-young. You don't get to be their father. You get to walk away. Like you're good at doing." The last sentence landed like a knife between his ribs. Lina was beside him now, her expression unreadable. "Who is this?" she asked in Mandarin. Sage answered in perfect Mandarin. "Nobody. Just an old acquaintance." Lina's eyes narrowed. She looked at Dae-young, then at the three girls visible through the window, then back at Sage. She wasn't stupid. "I see," Lina said quietly. Sage looked at Dae-young one last time. Her eyes were wet. exhausted. Final. Goodbye, Dae-young. Have a good life. She turned and walked out. Dae-young watched her gather the three girls, his daughters, oh God, his daughters, and disappear into the cold Seoul night. He stood there, frozen, while his entire world rearranged itself. Lina touched his arm. Her voice was soft, almost kind. Your children. He nodded. How long have you known? 4 minutes. She let out a long breath. My father can never know about this. Dae-young finally looked at her. I know. If he finds out you have children, vulnerable, accessible children, he won't use them as leverage. He'll eliminate them. You understand that, right? He'll kill 3 little girls to make sure you stay controllable. I know. So what are you going to do? Dae-young stared out the window at the empty sidewalk. I don't know. But that was a lie. He already knew. He was going to burn down everything he'd built. Because those 3 little girls with his eyes had just become the only thing in the world that mattered. And that meant he'd already lost. Dae-young didn't sleep that night. He sat in his penthouse office, 53 floors above Seoul, the city spreading beneath him like a kingdom he suddenly didn't care about. On his desk, a glass of whiskey he hadn't touched, his phone, and a decision that would probably get him killed. At 3 a.m., Minjun arrived. He was shorter than Dae-young, stockier, with a scar across his left eyebrow from a fight in Busan 15 years ago. They'd grown up together in the same poor neighborhood, back when Dae-young's father was still building the empire. Minjun dropped into a chair without being invited. He knew better than to ask permission. You look like hell, Hyungnim. I need you to find someone. Who? Sage Adeyemi. Nigerian-Korean woman, early 30s, living somewhere in Seoul. Probably near a major hospital. Minjun pulled out his phone, already typing. The art curator? The one who disappeared. Yes. Why now? Dae-young hesitated. Then, she has my children. Minjun's fingers stopped moving. He looked up slowly, his expression carefully neutral. Children. Plural. Triplets. Girls. 5 years old. Minjun let out a low whistle. Does Lina know? She was there when I found out. Shit. Minjun ran a hand through his hair. Hyungnim, if Richard Chin finds out. I know. No, I don't think you do. Minjun leaned forward. Chin doesn't just use leverage. He eliminates it. 3 little girls? They're not leverage to him. They're liability. Loose ends. He'll have them killed before they can be used against you or before you can be weakened by caring about them. Dae-young's hand tightened into a fist on the desk. Then he doesn't find out. How? Lina knows. Her loyalty is to her father, not you. This marriage is business, remember? You said it yourself. Lina's smart. She knows killing children crosses a line even in our world. It would make me an enemy, not an ally. The wedding would be off. The partnership would collapse. Her father's empire would take a hit. She won't tell him. You're betting their lives on her self-interest? Yes. Minjun stared at him for a long moment. You've changed. No. I just finally have something worth protecting. Silence filled the room. Outside, Seoul sparkled, indifferent to the conversation happening 53 floors up. Then Minjun nodded slowly. I'll find them by morning. Thank you. But Hyungnim, you need a real plan. Because even if Lina stays quiet, someone will find out eventually. Someone always does. A photograph. A witness. A bribe. And when that happens, I'll handle it. How? Dae-young looked out at the city. His city. The empire he'd spent 20 years building. I don't know yet. After Minjun left, Dae-young opened his desk drawer. Inside was a single photograph, creased from being held too many times. Sage, laughing, her head thrown back, sunlight catching in her hair. He'd taken it at a park in Itaewon, back when he still believed happiness was possible. He stared at it for a long time. Then his phone rang. Lina, we need to talk, she said. Privately. They met at a traditional tea house in Insadong at 6 a.m. Private room. No recording devices. Minjun had swept it an hour earlier. Lina sat across from him, her posture perfect, her expression unreadable. She poured tea with elegant precision, each movement deliberate. I told my father I'm staying in Seoul an extra week, she said. Shopping for the wedding. He believed me. Thank you. Don't thank me. She handed him a cup. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because if my father kills 3 innocent children to maintain control over you, I'll lose what little respect I have for him. And I need that respect. It's all we have in this family. Dae-young said nothing. But I need to know your plan, Lina continued. Because right now you're a liability. Emotional. Compromised. And my father doesn't tolerate liabilities. There is no plan yet. Then make one. Fast. She sipped her tea. Because in 72 hours, my father arrives in Seoul to finalize the wedding arrangements. He'll want to meet with you. And if he senses something is wrong, if he detects even a hint of weakness, he'll investigate. And when he investigates, he finds everything. I know. Do you? Lina set down her cup. My father once tortured a man for 3 days because he suspected him of stealing. Turned out the man was innocent. My father's response? Better to eliminate a possible threat than risk vulnerability. That's who you're dealing with. That's who I've dealt with my entire life. Something in her voice made Dae-young look at her more carefully. You're afraid of him. I'm terrified of him, she said simply. I have been since I was 6 years old and watched him break a man's fingers one by one at the dinner table because the man had spoken to me without permission. So yes, Dae-young, I'm afraid. And you should be too. I am. Good. Fear keeps you alive. She paused. I have a suggestion. I'm listening. Cut contact. Completely. Tell the woman, Sage, that you'll provide financial support. Set up an account she can access. But no visits. No phone calls. No connection. Let her disappear back to Jeju or wherever she's going. In a few years, maybe when things are more stable, you can revisit it. No. Dae-young. I missed 5 years. I'm not missing more. Then you're choosing them over the empire. Yes. Lina stared at him. You're willing to lose everything? The territory? The alliances? The power? You're willing to start a war with my father. If I have to. She laughed. It was a bitter, tired sound. You really loved her. I still do. And the children? You don't even know them. They're mine. That's enough. Lina stood, smoothing her dress. Then I'll give you some advice, Dae-young. If you're going to burn your empire, do it yourself. Don't let my father do it for you. Destroy it on your terms. Cash out. Disappear. Because if you try to fight him while protecting 3 little girls, you'll lose. He has too many resources. Too many men. And he doesn't care about collateral damage. You're helping me. I'm helping them. She walked to the door, then paused. Those 3 little girls didn't choose this life. You and I did. We were born into it. But them? They're innocent. And maybe, her voice softened, maybe they deserve a chance we never had. She left. Dae-young sat alone in the tea room, staring at the untouched cup in front of him. By noon, Minjun had the address. Sage lived in a small apartment in Mapogu, near Hongdae. The kind of neighborhood filled with students and artists, and people trying to survive in Seoul without family money. The building was old, paint peeling, stairs narrow. Dae-young stood outside for 10 minutes before knocking. He could hear voices inside. Children laughing. Sage's voice, warm and patient, speaking in Korean. He knocked. The voices stopped. Footsteps. The door opened a crack. Sage's face appeared, and when she saw him, something between anger and resignation crossed her features. How did you find me? I have resources. Of course you do. She didn't open the door wider. What do you want? To talk. We talked last night. No. You talked. I listened. Now I want to talk. She stared at him for a long moment. Then, reluctantly, she opened the door. The apartment was small but clean. Children's drawings covered one wall. Toys were scattered across the floor in organized chaos. The scent of something cooking, kimchi jjigae, maybe, filled the air. The 3 girls were sitting at a low table, coloring. They looked up when he entered, and Dae-young felt his chest tighten. Up close, the resemblance was undeniable. They had his eyes, his cheekbones, his mouth. But they also had Sage's warmth, her curiosity, her fearlessness. Girls, Sage said quietly. This is an old friend of Mama's. His name is Dae-young. Like the king, the smallest one asked. Like the king, Sage confirmed. The tallest one, Zuri, stood up. She walked over to Dae-young and looked up at him with those unsettling, familiar eyes. Are you our appa? She asked in Korean. The room went silent. Sage's face went pale. Zuri, we talked about this. But Mama, he has our eyes. And our chin. And you said our appa lives in Seoul, but we can't see him because he's busy. Is he our appa? Dae-young looked at Sage. Then back at Zuri. He knelt down so he was at her eye level. Yes, he said quietly. I'm your appa. The other 2 girls gasped. The middle one dropped her crayon. The smallest one's eyes went wide. Dae-young, Sage started, her voice strained. But Zuri was still staring at him. Why didn't you come see us before? Because I didn't know you existed. Why not? Because. He glanced at Sage, who was gripping the counter so hard her knuckles were white. Because sometimes adults make mistakes. Did Mama make a mistake? No. I think she was trying to keep you safe. From what? From my world. Zuri considered this. Then, is your world scary? Yes. But you're in it. I am. Then if you can be in it, why can't we? Dae-young had no answer for that. The middle girl, quieter, gentler, approached slowly. I'm Nala, she said softly. I like to draw. I can see that. Your pictures are beautiful. The smallest one bounded over, all energy and fearlessness. I'm Ife. I'm the youngest, but I'm also the smartest and the fastest, and I know all the BTS songs. Do you know BTS? I've heard of them. Mama says you're Korean, but you don't look like the Korean people on TV. That's because not all Korean people look the same. Oh, she processed this. Then, can you teach me Korean curse words? Mama won't. Ife, Sage said sharply. Despite everything, Dae-young felt his mouth twitch. Almost a smile. Maybe when you're older. You said the same thing Mama says. That's because your mama is smart. Ife grinned. Are you going to stay for dinner? We're having kimchi jjigae. Mama makes it too spicy, but I like it. Dae-young looked at Sage. Her expression was complicated. Anger, fear, something softer he couldn't name. I don't think, he started. Please. Nala asked quietly. We've never met our Appa before. And just like that, Dae-young's carefully constructed walls crumbled completely. If your mama says it's okay. 3 pairs of eyes turned to Sage. She closed her eyes, took a breath. When she opened them, she looked tired, defeated. One dinner, she said. Then we talk. Privately. Dinner was chaotic. The girls talked over each other, asking 100 questions. What's your favorite color? Do you have a car? Do you live in a big house? Have you ever been to Nigeria? Why is your voice so deep? Can you speak English? Do you like spicy food? Dae-young answered as best he could, feeling like he was navigating a minefield blindfolded. Sage was quiet, watching him carefully, her expression unreadable. After dinner, she sent the girls to brush their teeth. Then she turned to Dae-young. We need to talk. They sat on the small balcony, barely big enough for 2 people. Souls stretched out below them, lights glittering in the cold night. You shouldn't have told them, Sage said quietly. She asked. You could have lied. I've done enough lying in my life. I wasn't going to lie to my daughter. Sage wrapped her arms around herself. This is a mistake. Maybe. Probably. But it's mine to make. It's not just yours. It's theirs. You being in their lives puts them in danger. I know. Then why? Because I can't walk away. His voice was raw. I spent 20 years building an empire. I thought that was power. I thought that mattered. But tonight, sitting at that table, listening to Ife talk about BTS, and watching Nala show me her drawings and answering Zuri's questions. He stopped. That's the first time in years I've felt like a human being instead of a weapon. And I can't walk away from that, even if I should. Sage was quiet for a long time. You're engaged, she finally said. Not for long. What? I'm ending it. Dae-young, you can't just, her father will. I know what her father will do. I don't care. You don't care. Sage turned to him, eyes wide. Richard Chun will destroy you. He'll take everything. Your territory, your money, your alliances. He might even kill you. Then he does. And what happens to them? She gestured toward the apartment. When you're dead and Chun is hunting anyone connected to you. What happens to 3 little girls whose only crime was being your daughters? That stopped him. Because she was right. Leaving the empire wasn't enough. He needed to make sure Chun couldn't touch them. Couldn't find them. Couldn't use them. I'll figure it out, he said. How? I don't know yet. But I will. Sage looked at him for a long moment. You really mean it. You'd give up everything for them. Yes. Why? You just met them. Because they're mine. And because. He hesitated. Because maybe this is my chance to be something other than what my father made me. Sage's eyes were wet. I'm scared, Dae-young. Me too. I spent 5 years keeping them safe. I can't lose them now. You won't. I promise. You can't promise that. I can try. Inside, they could hear the girls laughing about something, their voices light and innocent and completely unaware of the danger circling their lives. 1 month, Sage said finally. What? I'll give you 1 month. You can see them, spend time with them, but supervised. I need to see that you're serious about this. That you're not going to disappear the moment things get difficult. And if after 1 month, I think you're putting them in danger, you'll leave. I'll disappear so completely you'll never find us. Not even with all your resources. It wasn't much, but it was something. Okay. And Dae-young, if you're really going to do this, if you're really going to be their father, you need to understand something. Being a father isn't about biology. It's about showing up. Every day. Even when it's hard. Even when it's boring. Even when there are more important things to do. Can you do that? He thought about his own father. Cold. Distant. Teaching him violence instead of love. He thought about the empire he'd built in that image. And he thought about 3 little girls who laughed at dinner and asked impossible questions and looked at him like he might actually be someone worth knowing. I can try. It wasn't much of an answer, but it was honest. And for Sage, that seemed to be enough. 3 days later, Richard Chen arrived in Seoul. Dae-young met him at a private club in Gangnam, the kind of place where powerful men made dangerous deals over expensive whiskey. Chen was 58, silver hair, cold eyes, a smile that never reached them. He wore a suit that cost more than most people's cars and carried himself with the absolute confidence of a man who'd never lost. "Huang," he said in Mandarin, shaking Dae-young's hand. His grip was firm, controlling. "My daughter tells me you've been distracted lately. Business complications." "Ah." Chen sat down, and instantly a server appeared with his preferred drink. "I hope these complications won't interfere with the wedding." "No." "Good. Because my patience for complications is limited." Chen sipped his drink. "I've built my empire on eliminating complications before they become problems. It's kept me alive for 40 years. The threat was subtle, but clear. I understand. Do you?" Chen leaned back. "I wonder. Because I've been hearing interesting things about you, Huang. Rumors. Whispers. People say you've been unfocused." Dae-young's expression didn't change. "People talk. They do. And usually there's truth in their talk." Chen's eyes were sharp. Calculating. "Is there something you need to tell me?" This was the moment. Dae-young could lie. Could smile and deflect and buy himself more time. Or he could do what Lina suggested. Burn it down himself. "Yes," Dae-young said. "The wedding is off." Silence. Chen didn't move. Didn't blink. Just stared at Dae-young with those cold, dead eyes. "Excuse me. The wedding. The alliance. I'm ending it." "You're ending it." Chen's voice was soft. "Dangerous. May I ask why?" "Personal reasons." "Personal reasons." Chen laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. "We don't get personal reasons in our world, Huang. We get obligations. Responsibilities. You made a commitment to my family. To me. And now you're going to break it because of personal reasons." "Yes. I see." Chen set down his glass. "Then let me be very clear about what happens next. If you break this engagement, you break our alliance. All protection my organization offered you? Gone. All territory we agreed to share? Mine. All political connections, all financial arrangements, all mutual benefits? Dissolved. I understand. Do you? Because I don't think you do." Chun leaned forward. "I will make it my personal mission to destroy everything you've built. I will take your territory piece by piece. I will turn your allies against you. I will make sure that every move you make, every deal you try to close, every person you trust, all of it fails. And when you're broken and desperate and have nothing left, I will make sure you remember this conversation. This choice. This moment when you threw away everything for personal reasons." Dae-young met his eyes. "I said I understand. Then you're a fool." Chun stood. "You have 72 hours to reconsider. After that, the war begins. And Huang, I've never lost a war." He walked out. Dae-young sat alone in the private room, his hands steady, his heart racing. Min-jun appeared from the shadows where he'd been watching. "He's going to come after everything," Hyungnim. "I know. He meant what he said. He'll destroy you." "I know. Was it worth it?" Dae-young thought about 3 little girls eating dinner. About Ife's endless questions and Nala's quiet smile and Zuri's protective fierceness. "Yes. Then we need to move fast. If Chen's declaring war, we have maybe a week before his people start making moves. We need to liquidate assets, secure loyal people, create exit strategies. Do it. All of it. Everything. I want every account emptied, every property sold, every connection severed. By the time Chen realizes what's happening, I want there to be nothing left for him to take." Min-jun stared at him. "You're really burning it all down." "Yes. For them. For them." Min-jun nodded slowly. "Okay. But Hyungnim, where do we go after this?" "After Seoul." Dae-young had been thinking about that. "Somewhere far. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere they can be safe. And you think Chen will just let you disappear?" "No. But I'm going to make sure the cost of finding me is higher than his pride can afford." Min-jun pulled out his phone. "Then we need to make this messy. Really messy. Give him so many problems he can't focus on hunting 1 man and 3 little girls. What are you thinking? Every secret we have on him. Every dirty deal, every bribe, every body. We leak it. Not all at once, That would look like revenge. Slowly. Strategically. To his rivals, to authorities, to people who'd pay good money for that information. We make him fight on 50 fronts at once. That'll make him angrier. It'll make him busy. Minjun was already typing. And while he's putting out fires, we disappear. Clean. Complete. New identities, new country, new life. He'll still look. Of course he will. But if we do this right, if we cover our tracks perfectly, he'll be looking for ghosts. Minjun paused. I have contacts in immigration. People who specialize in making people vanish. It'll cost, but money isn't an issue. I know. I'm just saying, this is permanent, Hyungnim. Once we do this, there's no coming back. No empire. No power. No soul. You'll be nobody. Dae-young looked out the window at the city he'd controlled for 20 years. Good, he said quietly. Nobody sounds perfect. The next week was chaos. Dae-young moved through Seoul like a ghost, liquidating everything he'd built. Property deeds transferred to shell companies. Accounts emptied and scattered across a dozen countries. Loyal lieutenants given severance packages and warnings to disappear. Lina called once. My father knows, she said. He's furious. I expected that. He's putting bounties out. 50 million won for information on what you're planning. Double that for your location after you run. How much time do I have? 3 days. Maybe 4. He's mobilizing everything. She paused. I'm sorry it came to this. Are you? Yes. I didn't want this life either, you know. I was just better at pretending. Her voice was soft. Sad. I hope you find what you're looking for, Dae-young. I really do. She hung up. Minjun worked around the clock, setting up the exit strategy. New documents. New names. A small house in New Zealand, remote, coastal, far from everything. It's perfect, Minjun said, showing him photos. Quiet town. Good schools. No extradition treaty. And I've already set up local identities. You're David Park, carpenter. Sage is Sage Park, teacher. The girls are enrolled in the local primary school under their new names. What about you? I'm coming with you. Someone needs to watch your back while you figure out how to be a normal person. Minjun, don't argue. I've been following you since we were kids stealing rice cakes in Busan. I'm not stopping now. He grinned. Besides, someone needs to teach you how to use a hammer without breaking your thumb. Despite everything, Dae-young almost smiled. On the 4th day, Dae-young went to see Sage. She opened the door immediately, as if she'd been waiting. I'm leaving Seoul, he said without preamble. Tomorrow night. And I want you and the girls to come with me. Sage stared at him. What? I've ended the engagement. Dissolved the empire. Made arrangements for a new life. New identities. A place where the girls will be safe. Where you'll be safe. Where we can. He stopped. Where maybe we can try again. Dae-young, you can't just. I've already done it. The house is ready. The documents are prepared. We leave tomorrow at midnight. This is insane. Yes. Richard Chin will hunt you forever. Probably. You're throwing away everything you built. I know. Why? He looked past her to where the girls were playing, their laughter drifting through the apartment. Because they're worth more than an empire. Because you're worth more than power. And because I've spent 20 years being the man my father wanted me to be. Maybe it's time I try being the man I should have been. Sage's eyes were wet. What if it doesn't work? What if we can't make it work? What if you wake up in 6 months and regret everything? Then I regret it. But at least I'll regret trying instead of wondering what if. She was quiet for a long time. Where? She finally asked. New Zealand. Small coastal town. Far from everything. What about the girls, their school, their friends? They will make new ones. Learn new things. Have a chance to grow up without looking over their shoulders. He stepped closer. Sage, I can't undo the past 6 years. I can't give you back the time I missed. But I can try to be there for the next 60. If you'll let me. You're asking me to trust you. Yes. The last time I trusted you, I was trusting a criminal. A gangster. A man who solved problems with violence. I know. What makes you different now? Nothing. I'm still that man. I still have blood on my hands. I still know how to hurt people. He paused. But I'm trying to be more than that. For them. For you. For myself. Sage looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned and called out, Girls, come here please. 3 pairs of running feet. Zuri, Nala, and Ife appeared, curious and energetic. Your Appa has a question for you, Sage said quietly. Dae-young knelt down. How would you feel about moving to a new place? Far away. By the ocean. Where you can have a big backyard and go to a new school and... Will you be there? Zuri interjected. Direct as always. Yes, he answered. Every day. Zuri questioned. Every day. Young replied. Promise. I promise. He said. Zuri looked at her sisters. Some silent communication passed between them. Then she turned back to Young. Okay. Just like that. You're our Appa. Appas should be with their families. Right, Mama? Sage's voice was thick. Right. Aoife bounced excitedly. Will there be a beach? I want to learn to surf. There's a beach. And will there be other kids? Nala asked softly. Yes. Lots of kids. Okay then. Nala smiled. I'm ready. Young looked up at Sage. She was crying now. Silent tears streaming down her face. One condition, she whispered. Anything. He replied. If at any point staying with you puts them in danger, you let us go. No arguments. No tracking us down. You just let us go. It was like asking him to agree to cut out his own heart. But he nodded. Okay. Promise me. She urged him. I promise. Young said. Sage closed her eyes. Took a shaky breath. When she opened them, there was something like hope there. Fragile. Uncertain. But real. Then we'll come with you. They left Seoul at midnight. Minjun drove, the city lights fading in the rearview mirror. Sage sat in the passenger seat, quiet and tense. The girls were asleep in the back, curled against each other like puppies. Young sat beside them, watching their sleeping faces, memorizing every detail. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Chun knows you're running. He has people at the airport. All major roads. You won't make it. He typed back. Who is this? Lina. There's a private airstrip in Gimpo. Small. No security cameras. I've arranged for the guards to be elsewhere for the next 2 hours. Go there. Now. Why are you helping me? Because those 3 little girls deserve better than this world gave us. Now go before I change my mind. Young showed Minjun the message. Could be a trap, Minjun said. Could be. But she's right. We won't make it through the main routes. Your call, Hyungnim. Young looked at the sleeping girls again. Go to Gimpo. The airstrip was dark. Empty. Exactly as Lina promised. A small private jet waited, engines already running. They boarded quickly. Minjun did one last sweep for tracking devices. Found none. As the plane taxied, Young looked out the window at Seoul one last time. 20 years. An empire. Everything he'd known. Gone. Beside him, Aoife stirred in her sleep, reaching out instinctively. Her small hand found his grip tight, then relaxed. And Young realized something. He'd spent 20 years building an empire that made him powerful. But this small hand trusting him in sleep, this was what made him strong. The plane lifted into the night sky. Seoul disappeared below them. And Young Hwang, gangster, criminal, ghost of Gangnam, disappeared with it. 3 months later. The coastal town of Raglan, New Zealand. David Park stood in his workshop, planing a piece of kauri wood. His hands were steady. Patient. Learning. The workshop was small, attached to their house, a modest 2-story with a view of the ocean. Nothing like the penthouse in Seoul. But it was theirs. Safe. Real. Appa. He looked up. Aoife was running toward him, still in her school uniform, her backpack bouncing. Look what I made. She thrust a drawing at him. It was crude but enthusiastic. A family standing in front of a house. 4 figures plus a smaller one in the corner. That's you, that's Mama, that's me and Zuri and Nala. And that's Uncle Minjun, even though he says we can't call him Uncle, but I'm calling him Uncle anyway. Young studied the drawing carefully. It's beautiful. It's for you. For your workshop. So you remember us when you're working. I could never forget you. I know. But just in case. She grinned. Mama says dinner is in 20 minutes. She's making your favorite. I'll be there. Aoife ran off, already yelling something to her sisters. Young pinned the drawing to the workshop wall. Next to it were others, Nala's watercolors, Zuri's careful sketches, Aoife's chaotic explosions of color. His phone buzzed. Minjun. Chen's still looking. But the trail's cold. I think we're clear. Good. He texted back. You happy, Hyungnim? Young looked out the workshop window. Sage was in the garden, laughing at something Zuri said. Nala was showing her a flower. Aoife was doing cartwheels across the grass. Yes, he typed back. I think I am. Good. You earned it. Minjun replied. Inside the house, Sage called out. David. Dinner. David. Not Young. Not the ghost of Gangnam. Not the man who once controlled half of Seoul's underworld. Just David. Carpenter. Father. Trying his best. He set down his tools and walked toward the house. toward the chaos of three little girls fighting over who got to sit next to him, toward Sage's gentle smile and knowing eyes, toward a life he never thought he deserved. 20 years ago, his father told him, never let them see what matters. But his father was wrong. The things that mattered were exactly what made you human. And Dae-young, David, was finally learning what that meant. 6 months later, Sage found him on the beach at sunset, watching the girls play in the waves. They were braver now, louder, happier. She sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. Do you ever regret it? She asked quietly. No, not even a little. Not even a little. You had everything. No. He turned to look at her. I had power. I had fear. I had control. But I didn't have this. This is just chaos and noise and never enough sleep. I know. He smiled. It was easier now. More natural. It's perfect. Sage leaned her head on his shoulder. They asked me yesterday if we were going to get married. What did you say? I said maybe. If their appa asked nicely. Is this you asking me to ask? Maybe. He was quiet for a moment. Then, Sage Adeyemi. Will you marry me? That wasn't very nice. Sage Adeyemi. Will you please marry me? She smiled. Better. But you're missing something. What? The part where you promise you'll never leave. I'll never leave. The part where you promise you'll be here for every birthday, every school play, every scraped knee and broken heart. I promise. He said. The part where you promise that even when it's hard, and it will be hard, you won't run. I won't run. I spent 20 years running toward the wrong things. I'm done running. Sage turned to look at him. Her eyes were bright, clear. Then yes, I'll marry you. Again. Properly this time. Again. His brows raised. We were together before, weren't we? This is just us getting it right. He kissed her. Soft. Careful. Like she was something precious he'd almost lost. On the beach, Zuri shouted, Mama, Appa, come play with us. They stood, hand in hand, and walked toward their daughters, toward the waves and the sunset and the beautiful, terrifying, ordinary chaos of family. Dae-young Hwang had built an empire that ruled half of Seoul. But David Park built something better. A home. And in the end, that was the only empire that mattered. 7 years later. Zuri was 12 now. Nala was quieter but fierce in her own way. Aoife was still chaos incarnate, but starting to channel it into art and music. They didn't remember Seoul. Didn't remember the fear or the hiding or the danger. They just remembered their appa teaching them to surf, their Yama reading to them at night, Uncle Minjun teaching them inappropriate Korean phrases when their parents weren't listening. They were happy, safe, loved. One evening, Zuri found her father in his workshop, working on a rocking chair for their neighbor's new baby. Appa, can I ask you something? Always. Why did you choose us? David, he still thought of himself as Dae-young sometimes, in quiet moments. What do you mean? He asked. Mama told us once that you had a different life before. An important life. And you gave it up. For us. Why? He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Because I learned something important. Power makes you feared. But love makes you brave. And I'd rather be brave with you than powerful without you. Zuri considered this. Do you ever miss it? Your old life. Sometimes I miss parts of it. The certainty. The control. The feeling that I could fix anything with money or force. He paused. But then I come home, and Aoife shows me another drawing, and Nala tells me about her day, and you ask me complicated questions. And I realize that this, he gestured around them, this is harder than anything I did before. But it's also better. Because you love us? Because I love you. And your mama. And the life we built together. He pulled her close. You three are my greatest accomplishment. Not the empire I built. Not the power I had. You. Zuri hugged him tight. I'm glad you chose us, Appa. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. Later that night, after the girls were asleep, David stood on the porch with Sage, watching the stars. Minjun texted, she said quietly. Richard Chin died last week. Heart attack. David felt nothing. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Just nothing. It's over then. It was over years ago. We just didn't know it. I guess we can stop looking over our shoulders now. Can we? Sage smiled. You've been doing it for 7 years. Might be hard to stop. Maybe. He pulled her close. But I'm willing to try. Good. Because I have news. What news? She took his hand and placed it on her stomach. We're having a baby. Just one this time. The doctor confirmed it yesterday. For a moment, David couldn't breathe. Then he started laughing. Deep. Real. The kind of laughter he never knew existed before Sage. Before his daughters. Before this life. Are you happy? Sage asked. Terrified. Exhausted at the thought. Completely overwhelmed. So yes. He kissed her. Absolutely yes. Inside the house, one of the girls called out in her sleep. Probably Aoife having another strange dream about flying or talking animals, or whatever her brilliant, chaotic mind conjured. David went to check on her, tucking the blanket around her shoulders, brushing hair from her face. She murmured something in Korean, a language she barely remembered learning, and settled back into sleep. He stood there for a moment, watching all three of them sleep. His daughters, his family, his empire. And he thought about his father's words one last time. Never let them see what matters. His father was wrong. You should let them see. You should let them know. You should build your empire on love, not fear. Because empires of fear crumble and fall. But empires of love? Those last forever. Dae-Jung Hwang ruled Seoul's underworld for 20 years. He commanded armies, controlled billions, feared nothing. But three little girls with his eyes taught him the greatest truth he never learned in all those years of violence and power. Real strength isn't taking what you want. It's protecting what you love. Real power isn't making people fear you. It's making people feel safe with you. And the only empire worth building is the one that calls you home. Some men are remembered for what they conquered. Dae-Jung Hwang chose to be remembered for what he protected. And in the end, that made all the difference. If you love this story of sacrifice, redemption, and impossible choices, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that will make you feel everything. Drop a comment telling me what you'd give up for the people you love. Until next time, remember, the best empires aren't built with power. They're built with love.